It's rock and roll.
Welcome to the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast. We are back with a W.A.S.P Sting podcast, one that is current affairs for once, because Blackie Lawless has finally done what we have been waiting for him to do, to announce that he's going to be touring the United States for the first time in, 13 years, Andy?
For me, it's been, March 9th of 2010. That was the last time I saw them live.
So that is a long time, over a decade. Blackie was a guest on Eddie Trunk's Sirius XM show, and he dropped a really cool interview. He started doing some of the press for hyping the tour. I don't know how much press he's going to do, because he doesn't seem to do an awful lot of media outlets. He seems to be very selective in what he will do, which is probably smart. W.A.S.P Nation is up, running, bang up to date with tour dates and all the sorts of information that you could want to have. I got tickets to 2 shows. Up yours, Ticketmaster, blocking me on my old account because I did a chargeback for their lack of a refund on a previous show. But I got tickets to Anaheim, so I will be there for the first U.S. show, and then I will be there for the last U.S. show in San Francisco. And fingers crossed that we keep our shit together. We can actually go to these shows, because I don't want any more to be rescheduled bullshit that I've had with other bands. Andy, you got some tickets?
Yeah, actually, would you believe it? I say we, because Kim's actually going to go to show number 2 with me. She's like, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but they came in. I can't wait. I'm so thrilled. I'm super, pumped, man. I can't believe. And it's a hard copy. None of this BS about, on the phone. So we got our Huntington. This is right before Long Island, on the Long Island area, Huntington, New York. So this would be show 2. Show 2 for me, for me, show 2. But one, Kim's going to go, and I actually got seats, because she says I don't want to go in the pit. So I don't blame her, because I would imagine it's going to get nuts. I think that this has been so long for people in the United States. It's going to get absolutely insane on the floor. So we have seats for the second night for us, but I go to Boston. Those haven't come up yet, and that's all GA. Well, actually, no, they did have seats. There's GA seats up top. It's weird, and all the seats are gone for that. So, but GA in Boston, and it's on a Wednesday, which that sucks. I gotta admit, this shows, but it is what it is. Got to go in the city, take the train in, figure out how to get there. Get in that pit, and here we go, back to 1985, 86, and 87, and 88. I love it, man. I'm just gonna get out of control on this.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've not seen W.A.S.P in concert. I've skipped so many of these sorts of shows. Anaheim's general admission. Regency had some seats up top, which I'd rather be there, at my age, to chill and just listen to the music. I don't need to go mental, so I'll have one crazy show straight out the bat, and then have a nice seat. And I had to buy a pair of tickets for that one, so I'll probably have an extra to take someone with me, which will be fun if they're in San Francisco for that. Bill, what about you? Any shows coming your way that you're able to get to?
I do have Columbus on November 30th, and I have yet to buy tickets, and I just opened up the King of Clubs website, and it looks like there are still tickets available. They're showing only general admission. They're not showing it. Well, I guess they have premium box suites and table seating, but apparently the only tickets are selling right now. And the ticket price is amazing. I was actually really expecting a higher ticket price for this, but $47 including fees. That's not bad at all. But it's the end of November, and I should be able to manage. The bummer is it's on a Wednesday, so most likely will mean I have to take 2 days off from work to go see it, because I don't like driving home from Columbus in the middle of the night anymore.
Yeah.
But and I sent you guys a picture, and it's a pretty modest club, but I mean it's showing a capacity of 850, so that would put it about the same size as maybe Bogart's in Cincinnati, if anybody knows what that is. Maybe even more space than that. So 850 seater it could be pretty fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really exciting. You know, there's been a lot of excitement around the announcements. Obviously, you got to give Eddie Trunk respect for a good interview with Blackie. I thought, you know, he did a great job. He's obviously got a good rapport with him. Blackie took a couple of the tough questions pretty well. I was surprised Eddie went there with the Chris topics.
How he did not get hung up on after that. He's got to have a good rapport after that. As just
Hey, you know, people who bash Eddie Trunk, I'd say that is good evidence of a guy who asks the fair questions. Blackie is the artist and can decline to answer anything, and I've always said that in every interview I have ever done. I always say, if I go anywhere, just no comment me. It's no big deal. We'll move on. You know, there's no need to be a prima donna and hang up or have a tantrum about it, and Blackie didn't.
He played it very cool.
He played it extremely cool. So respect also to Blackie for how cool he was on the interview, because he tried to, it seemed like he tried to go into a lot of detail and to give people, you know, a lot of cheese to, you know, entice them. It's like he's dropping some hints, and who knows what actually happens. You know, he's the artist. This is his show. No matter what we talk about today, our topic's going to be about what we want Blackie to do, you know, for celebrating the 40th anniversary. And it's just three boneheads who've been talking about the band for over a year, getting together and talking about what we want. But at the end of the day, it's going to be what the artist wants to do to celebrate his legacy, his 40 years, and how he presents that. But let's go back to the interview for a second. You know, Blackie made a few comments of interest. Bill, what were some of the things that kind of jumped out at you from the interview of interest?
Well, really, how much he was going to make it more of an elaborate stage show, like more similar to what Electric Circus was, which I didn't get to see the Electric Circus tour, so I don't know how over the top that one went. But the one thing that really overwhelmed me about the whole thing, and as I clear my throat, you know, this guy's an easy 20 years older than me, and his speaking voice sounds incredible. You know, I mean, it was a telephone call, yeah, but I mean, you know, his speaking voice was clear. There wasn't any rasp to him. You know, you hear some of these guys that were, you know, 10 years after him, career-wise, and they're, you know, having a terrible sound to their voice. And, you know, Blackie was speaking as clearly as he was as 10 or even 20 years ago. So that leads me to believe that, you know, the singing voice hopefully will follow suit.
Yeah, you know, I'm totally hopeful about. He's got good diction in how he speaks. Blackie does, but he also thinks. He's a thinker before he answers. So he's kind of got the Paul Stanley vibe going, that he doesn't just give you an answer. He considers it for a moment and then gives you an answer, which is always very cool. Andy, what were some of the things that jumped out at you in that interview?
Man, right away when he mentioned, which I thought was kind of weird in a way, but awesome for me because I loved it. I saw that tour, was the Electric Circus. As soon as he said it, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Here's a guy who says through all these years that the Electric Circus went too far for him. You know, like the Vegas show kind of thing. But that tour was awesome. I don't care what anybody says. I love that awesome. And it just the way it sounded. And then, you know, he's going to, you know, he said, oh, it was too bright, too over the top. No, it wasn't. It was completely awesome. Just like your background. Just that's what it was like. And like, yeah, it was bright on the stage, but they wore bright costumes. I mean, they were right in the thick of the middle of that whole 80s colors and stuff. And, you know, it was what it was back then. And it was, to me, I loved it. It was an awesome show. It was just over the top for them. I mean, they went full out. And I didn't see them like open up for somebody else. Actually, they did their own. They split off, and they were the headliners. And I happened to see them down in Providence, Rhode Island, actually January 17th, 1987. Wow. It was just in like a theater, yeah, a theater, and it just, you know, the reason why I remember the date that quick because it just passed by. So I mean, it just. I wish I had a camera back then because we had seats on the first, you know, on the balcony, the first row. And they said they didn't sell any tickets up there, but we had the tickets, so they let us up there. I wish I had a camera. I wish I had a video camera because, I mean, you do see it. They do have some stuff out there. They show, you know, official stuff. But, man, I would have loved to have a whole thing of that from that show because that show is, like, hidden. And speaking of Electric Circus, just a quick one, I happened to score this like 3 weeks ago, and Inside Electric Circus, like I don't know. I guess you called it the official tour book. It doesn't have tour dates on it, but I could never find it because I never sold anything. The show I went to, they never sold anything. I was like disappointed. But anyways,
does that have a picture of the stage on it? In it?
Oh, yes, as a matter of fact.
Because that would be great. I mean, just thinking about the Electric Circus stage, I loved it. All the pictures back then, and some of the live shows that do circulate. Yeah, it was bright, it was glam, it was mid-'80s, but he's talking about taking it back to his original concept for it, which is a bit darker, and this lame background.
No, they do not. It's like you don't really see the whole thing. It's too bad, but yeah, and that's what I loved about it. It's so weird for a guy who said he really didn't really enjoy the Electric Circus as it is now going to take the old concept of the Electric Circus and put it on stage. So I was like, this is going to be like really cool. And he said like side circus, like a circus freak. So now I'm starting to think, what are they going to play for the songs? And I'm thinking about, wow, I mean, the opener, the middle songs, the ending song. Now I have this vision in my brain going, wow, this is going to be like, and then he's saying bales of hay for the drum set, which I think they'll put him in front, not actually at top, but it just sounds like this is going to be like 1984, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 kind of thing. And I love that. And the second thing I got out of the whole thing is when he said, and I'm glad that it's just not going to be the first tour. You know what I mean? Because the first tour thing was short. Too. They only played first album, most of the first album, and then done. It was done. It was only like a 70-minute show or 65-minute show. So it was just hearing him saying that they're going to play stuff they never played before. Oh, my heart just went dum, 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 because now I'm like, oh, my God, what are they going to play? What are they going to play, Because I saw up to the Babylon tour, so I, missed a couple of the tours that they did overseas. So but I'm so excited to see what he's going to do because he said, what do you say, 25% of this tour is going to be songs that we've never heard or maybe never heard of before. I mean, maybe some people have, but I've heard up to Babylon.
He said that they never played live. He said 25% have never played live.
Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm just so pumped, man. This is what I needed to get with all this crap going on. And it's in late November, like you were saying. So I'm so excited about this. This is about damn time. So anyways, that was my exciting thing from that whole interview. I mean, it was really great interview, but when he said Electric Circus stuff, back the old ways, and doing songs that they'd never played before, 25%, I'm in. I'm in 100% anyways, but I'm in.
Yeah.
And you're going to smell it.
Yeah.
Dude, when I grew up on a farm. I don't necessarily want to smell.
Yeah. I don't want to have that circus smell. I went to a state fair and saw a concert there with the napalm and cow shit. It really didn't work. Some of the good stuff out of that interview that you guys haven't mentioned for me was the Michael Schenker story, and I'm not going to give it away. If you haven't heard this interview, it's up on YouTube all over the place now. The Michael Schenker story is absolutely hilarious. More importantly was how classy, again, Blackie was in talking about Frankie Banali. And that was really cool, very classy. Now that he's talking about the circus theme, is he going to have a peroxide blonde bassist? Are they going to get the dye out and you go the full Johnny Rod to bring back that look? That's a joke. Box set, I think, has got to be the big news coming out of this that Blackie was talking about, the multiple versions of the first demo that were recorded. Now, I know quite a few of these songs were released on... what was it, Crimson Idol B-sides in 1993-4 in the UK. I think 8 of them have been out, but I'm not sure which demo those come from sequentially, especially in relation to what Blackie has. I know that there have been the Master of Disaster demos circulating, but what is the sequence? What is the legit sequence? All of that stuff in minty crystal clear would be very cool. A lot of it didn't come out on the Snapper and Zoom Club or whatever they were reissues over the years, which has included all the B-sides. And anyway, taking all those B-sides and everything that was appended onto the albums and putting them in a box, I wouldn't be against either, having them all in one collection, because I often just listen to the original albums and have the bonus tracks off separate, because, again, how I listened to them in the 80s on cassette, or on CD is how I want. I don't want to hear Paint It Black mixed in with the first album, even though it was a B-side, or at the time. So I think the box set is very exciting. It's been quite a few years since we've had a good archival release series from Blackie, so I'll be interesting to see where he goes with that. And again, they've already put the call out for fans of cool memorabilia to get in touch through the W.A.S.P Nation website. So let me just give you those two websites that you're going to want to check out. One's, of course, Facebook, W.A.S.P Nation, or waspnation.com for all the news and stuff. Opening acts. When you saw him in 1987, Andy, who was the opening act? Was that Metallica at that time?
No, I think it was Metal Church, if I'm right, or a band. Maybe it was Icon, a band named Icon. I can't even remember.
Either would have been good.
I hate to say it, I don't really care. You know what I mean? I don't even care that well, you're probably going to ask the question anyways, but they're like, oh, Armored Saint. I don't even care. I don't care who they get. I just want to see the W.A.S.P thing go longer and longer. The end.
Well, Killjoy. So opening act for the tour is Armored Saint, legend in their own right, and on certain select Texas dates, Michael Schenker's going to be joining the madness. So that's a cool bill. Bill, do you have something nice to say about Armored Saint?
Well, that's the thing is, I kind of missed the bus on Armored Saint in the 80s. I had some friends who were into him, but, that was kind of back when we all still had records. So when we were hanging out, we weren't listening to records. We were probably off in the park drinking and smoking or whatever. But, I'd heard very little of him. But then I became a big fan of John Bush when he joined Anthrax. And it's like, well, this guy sings like this. Did he sing like this for Armored Saint? And he did. So I kind of went back to that. I haven't really taken the big deep dive into Armored Saint. But they're a lot classier band. I was kind of more toward the glammy side of metal at that point. So I hadn't really got into that. I mean, I always thought Armored Saint was just like some, heavier than Metallica stuff or something like that. So I really just kind of overlooked them. And I wasn't hanging out with the right people at the time, I guess. But as far as Schenker, I'm really late on the bus for like UFO and everything like that. I mean, I just got my first UFO albums a couple years ago. And, but I mean, I liked him whenever he did decide to play with the Scorpions, and he's a phenomenal player. But, I wouldn't have traveled to Oklahoma to see him. So, but I would love to see Armored Saint open for him.
Yeah, I don't know much about Armored Saint. I do know, of course, the Kiss connection, that Michael James Jackson left the Animalize project after just doing the drums to produce their first album, and they don't even like that first album because it's too commercial. So that's as much as I know about them. I remember the album cover back in the day, though I didn't make the connection between Michael James Jackson producing it and the band, because I just thought the album cover was a turnoff for me. So,
and the thing with Armored Saint is, if I would have paid attention, Armored Saint was way more in my wheelhouse than I ever imagined, because I was primarily the singer in the bands that I was in shortly after high school and all that stuff. And here I was trying to sing Bon Jovi stuff, and my friends were listening to Steelheart and all this stuff with these real high range vocals, and I was just killing myself trying to sing that stuff. And if we'd been doing stuff like Armored Saint, that would have been like right in my wheelhouse where my singing style is. And I was like, man, I really just missed out on that. But I'd love to see. I've heard a lot of the new album that Saint put out, and it sounds really good. There's a couple shows that I've followed that have probably played a majority of the album, and their new stuff sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, I need to check them out and get educated before I go to the shows, because I want to, enjoy the opening act as well. Just because, it is a band that I didn't pay much attention to, so now I need to find out what I've been missing. Andy, you last saw, you're the only one at this table that saw the band back in 2010. So, what do you remember about that show? What were kind of the high points that you look back on fondly to that time?
I remember, it was in this place called Foxborough Live. I don't even know if that place is still open, but basically it's next to people know what I'm talking about, next to Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play and the soccer team plays and all that. So they had made this like little theater. No, it's not even a theater; it's a club basically. And they'd have bands in it playing there. And like again, I don't even know if it's open anymore. But anyways, it probably still is. But I remember going there. An old friend went, and his son went, and his son was his first time seeing W.A.S.P. He had heard about him, started all this stuff, and then got to see him. So it was interesting seeing that way. They didn't have there's some songs up on YouTube from that show. I'm in the crowd. You can see like my friend's kid's hat. He's because he was into that, wearing a hat sideways and it had some red on it, whatever. But I'm right there in the mix of all on that crowd. The place is super packed. They didn't have like a lot of stage stuff. He didn't even have Elvis with him. He just had a regular mic. They sounded awesome. The big thing for me was I had heard a lot of the songs except for the stuff off of Babylon. So anything off of the stuff they played off of Babylon was new. I knew the CD, but I mean that was the first time hearing it. But one of the highlights when I heard it, man, because I had never heard it live, and they only did probably I think like 50 seconds of it and stuff. And it was like super teased. It was Screaming Till You Like It. I was absolutely going out of my tree. It was one of those songs, it's in a movie, it's on the live thing. It's got this, but I never heard it live, and I was like so excited when they started playing it. I just started to cry. I was like, oh my god, and then all of a sudden they stopped it, and then they went back to, the I Don't Need No Doctor thing and stuff like that. So to me, man, he sounded good. The whole band sounded good. They're all in dark black and stuff. It wasn't the W.A.S.P. of 1986 and 87. No glam stuff. It was all dark, the video screens and stuff like that. So, but all in all, it was long. They played a long thing, and that was the night finally that I actually get the first time ever after all these years that I finally get to meet Blackie for 15, 20 seconds after the show. Like every show, it's a general mission. You kind of hang around, see if there's anything, talking to friends and this and that. And we waited about a half hour hanging out because Mike Duda he's from the Connecticut area. I don't know if he is anymore, but originally I think he was from the Connecticut area. And so when the W.A.S.P. would play Connecticut, sometimes his family would show up, his mother and father would show up to the shows down in Hartford and stuff like that. And he would hang around the bar and stuff like that. And you go up to him and say, hey, how you doing, Mike? Hey, can I have a picture with you? And he'd be like, the first couple of times he looked at me, he's like, you know who I am? Because he was at the time, he's new in the band at the time, back in the time, and he's like, you know who I am? Can I have a picture of you, dude? He's like, yeah, sure. So he's always cordial, always wicked nice. But we'd hang out, and he wasn't there. The drummer wasn't there. But, Doug was there. And I hate to say it, Doug, you're an asshole. He was really an ass. He basically
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Yeah, I hope he's changed his tune since then. But at that time, I'm sorry. You know how I am. If you're nice, you're nice. You're bad, you're bad. So he was standing against the wall. Now this is 45 minutes, an hour hanging out, right? He's just standing on the wall next to the stage, just standing there like this with his nothing going on. Absolutely hardly anybody around. Nothing going on. He's just standing against the wall. And me and a friend and his son walked up to him and said, hey, how you doing, Doug? Hey, would you mind having a picture? He's like, no, I'm too busy here. I got stuff going on. And I'm like, he's just there. There might be one person beside him. It might be somebody that was, in the band. And he's just like, no, I'm too busy. I get, And I'm like, dude, sorry, dude, you're an asshole. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I'm like, sorry, dude. Then I kind of gave him the finger and walked off. That's how I felt about the guy. Really. The guy's basically got a job from other people that Blackie fired, and you act like a jerk like that. I'm sorry. That's sorry. If you had 10,000 people around you bugging you, I wouldn't even have bugged you. But when you're alone, just standing against the wall like this, you just say, hi, how you doing? Would you like to take a quick picture with me? No, you're done. See ya. That's it with me. But in the highlight of that night, we went outside. It was freezing out. We're waiting and waiting and waiting. The bus is right there. We waited for another hour. Now it's getting super late, and a guy was there at the bus, and we walked over to him, and there's only I think there was 5 or 6 of us left around the area, and then a couple more left, and then I walked back up to the bus, and I'm like, hey man, are any of the guys gonna come out? And he's like, yeah, Blackie should be out in 15 minutes, and I just only did asked the guy, I don't know if it was the bus driver or the whatever it was. I just said, "You think you wouldn't mind like taking a picture or signing something?" And basically, "Oh, I don't know. You have to ask him, or we'll ask him when he comes out." Okay. And then we went back to our car. We sat there because we were like 100 yards away because it was wicked freezing by that point. And then all of a sudden, there he is, comes walking out. We could see him. We're like, "Oh man, here's Blackie." Grab whatever. And at the time, you had in your car was CDs. I didn't bring like a post case. I never thought of anything like this. So I grabbed my friend bought. He had brought his CDs instead of me because we usually switch off. We bring the CDs in. He's like, "Oh, I'll bring my CDs this time." So he brought a bunch of CDs, and I grabbed. I'm like, "Dude, I gotta grab something from you because here it is." So I grabbed his least favorite was the Electric Circus, and I, walked up to the bus and I said, "Hey, is Blackie gonna come out?" And he goes, "Yeah, Blackie's gonna come out. He'll come out." So Blackie basically came out halfway out of the bus on the stairs with the guard at the bottom. Blackie had basically a face mask on, the blue ones you see now people wearing. And they just said, "No pictures." I said, "No problem." I took 2 or 3 steps up. I said, "How you doing, Blackie?" He said, "Hi." I said, "You wouldn't mind signing the CD? I know this is not your favorite W.A.S.P album, but I go, this is one of my favorites." And he's just like, "Yeah, no problem." You signed it. I said, "Thank you." And he says, "Yeah, no problem." My friend did the same thing, signed one of his CDs. That was it. It was awesome. It was no problem with me. That's it. Turned around, I walked away. We went home, and we were giddy. I was like, finally, after all these years. I'm serious. It was like really cool. So, that's my story. So,
Cool.
So the side was awesome. So that's it. So hopefully Doug is better now.
Actually, I think he'll probably come up to you and flip you off. Here's
"Hey,
one
you're that
back
guy
to you.
from Foxborough. Fuck you."
Now he knows your name. I remember you. You're an asshole.
By the way, I think the place is called Showcase Live now. I found something that's it's Showcase Live. It's on Patriot Place. So yeah, that's probably still a functional venue.
All right, let's get into the music, because I think a lot of the people, judging by the comments from the Peanut Gallery, and that is, of course, seeing people react to Facebook and elsewhere.
Can
Bill.
I squeak in one thing about the high points? Because I was not following my notes right.
Oh, shit. Hell yeah. Go for it.
The high points for me, I was listening in my vehicle, and his story about 9/11, about going to Ground Zero, that was pretty heavy, and that's the thing about it is, he did everything to say, but he was, sensing the smell of death. He could still smell the wires burning and stuff like that, and that was crazy. But and then his confession about there's a little bit more of him and Jonathan from the Crimson Idol than he ever wanted to admit. Those are a couple pretty heavy stories that come out of that interview. That's all I had.
See, that's another resounding recommendation to check out that Eddie Trunk interview with Blackie Lawless. Word up. So continue, Bill, because like I was saying about the Peanut Gallery, is all these people are suddenly W.A.S.P fans again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing about it is, maybe they've had the awakening in them again or something like that. I wouldn't rule anything out. For example, they're coming to one city in Ohio, I think, and they may be coming to Cleveland. I didn't notice, but there's 88 counties in Ohio, and he's playing an 850-seat venue. So that means less than 10 people per county that might be a W.A.S.P fan could show up at this show. And that doesn't sound too far-fetched. We're a pretty heavily populated state for being a rural state. But, yeah, you're going to have, but I think, there's the majority of your fans are going to be somewhere probably filtered in between the three of us, where I kind of fell off after Live in the Raw. Well, actually not Live in the Raw, after Headless Children and Crimson Idol. But you're going to have, then you've got Superfan Andy, who's been through them, through the entire run. And you're going to have a good deal of them that's going to fall somewhere in between that. But yeah, you're going to have probably a minor majority that's going to be, everything before Headless Children. That's what they want to hear, and Headless Children's kind of pushing it. But then again, the Real Me actually still gets played on numerous radio stations, which is ironic because it's a cover. But Yeah, it's going to fall somewhere in between. And I have a few friends locally they're into the later catalog, and I haven't exactly hit them up yet to see if they wanted to, maybe carpool up there or something like that. But yeah, the majority of the people are going to want the stuff prior to Headless Children because they're not familiar with anything afterward.
Yeah, it's going to be that typical situation, and I'm not dissing anyone who's suddenly come out as a W.A.S.P fan, because my Facebook is very skewed towards metalheads and hard rock fans of my age group. So it's not surprising that a lot of them listened to W.A.S.P back in the day, and all of a sudden, W.A.S.P is after a 10-year absence where they haven't been following them or not aware of what's been going on. That all of a sudden that they're excited about it because after 2 years of pandemic and hell. It's good news, regardless of anything. It is fantastic news that Blackie's touring North America. But Andy, are you concerned that he's going to cater more? Obviously he said 25% maybe songs that they've never performed live. That talk is cheap. That it could just end up being that greatest hit set list to appease all of those people, or, well, what do you think, Andy?
Well, when it came out and then it was posted, then I saw a lot of people on social media, basically Facebook. Oh man, I'm a W.A.S.P fan. I love them. It's kind of weird to me at some point. I get it. Maybe there's an age difference. If you're 20 years old or 25, you never got to saw the original band. You never got to saw the original stuff. I get it. Even I didn't. The first time I ever saw W.A.S.P, and it was I introduced to W.A.S.P when they opened up the Kiss. And my friend, when we were driving to Springfield, Mass, said, "Man, you gotta check this band out." He slapped the cassette in his Mustang, and two of the guys knew who W.A.S.P kind of just started was. And I'm like, listen, wow, man, this sounds pretty good. And then when I got there and got on the floor, and the whole general mission thing, it was absolutely insane. Watching these guys, I'm like, man, this is Kiss 1984. You know what I mean? It went from Kiss 70s to 1984. It was like the newer Kiss, basically. People say, the Motley Crue was the new Kiss or whatever. But to me, it was like the W.A.S.P thing was really more into like a Kiss thing from the 70s. So it was like, like Black says, all people watch visually with their eyes and not with their, the things. But to me, man, both things, it made sense. It kind of went along. But then I get, I see here Blackie say, I mean, if we play something that's not a greatest hit kind of thing, you're going to have the 10 people in the front row going, yeah. But then you're going to see, like 90% in the back going, what is this? Too bad. People like, say, me that are age that were actually be able to go back to that days all the way up until now, or even if you're a newer fan, if you're a fan, you're gonna know those albums. Why wouldn't you know those albums? Right? Why wouldn't you? I don't understand it. So what? We're the ones, Blackie, we're the ones that are buying your merchandise, buying your CDs. The hardcore fans are buying them. I get it. They want to sell tickets because they want to hear the first two albums. They might not. A lot of people who say they don't even want to hear the Electric Circus, and I think it's insane. But they want to hear just the first album and the first two albums, and that's it. And I'm like, no, man, they got way more stuff than that. And even some of the stuff after the first two albums is better than the first two albums.
And one of our faithful listeners, Steve Wright, he's going to be right up there with you, Andy, saying, "Play Eldorado," or anything like that. So I definitely want to give a shout out to Steve because he's going to be on those East Coast shows.
Hell yeah. Give Steve a shout out as well. Good taste, obviously. That's on my list when we get to that conversation about some of the songs. That song is in mine. So,
spoilers.
Since 2010, they've only released Golgotha. That was the last studio album, 2015. Re-idolized, I'm not even going to count. It is what it is. We haven't gotten to talking about a lot of these albums. Yeah, even though I like it too. But, I've got 3 words for Blackie. Well, actually, no. My first advice to Blackie is don't listen to us or the fans, because I think ultimately you've got to celebrate 40 years of W.A.S.P. how you are going to celebrate. I mean, you're the common denominator in that band. In essence, you are the band. Regardless of anything else. But I'd like him to take into consideration 3 words: Dominator, Babylon, Golgotha. Do not avoid or ignore. If you're celebrating 40 years with W.A.S.P, you need to celebrate all of the studio albums. And also, if you have time in the set, some of the non-album stuff. Tormentor, originally non-album. Show No Mercy, originally non-album. So let's get rid of.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I'm interested
I've seen him do it every time I saw him live. So it's kind of like
it's the opening song of a set. Yeah. It was in 2010. I think it should be now, but we'll talk more about that in a second. Let's get this one out of the way. And Blackie alluded to it somewhat in the Eddie Trunk interview. Animal. Does it need to be performed or not? And Blackie's on the fence. He's leaning, he's not leaning. Who knows what it may be? Where will that pendulum end? Bill, I'm going to start with you on that.
Well, and that's the thing about it is I have some similar beliefs to that Blackie does. And one thing he needs to take into consideration is there's a certain amount of acting he's doing when he's on the stage. There's it's performance. His Blackie, for starters, is not his given name, so he's got that kind of where he's got a stage name to start off with. But it was a critical point in their career that they were the first ones to come out and had the balls covered covered with a saw blade to say, I fuck like a beast. And if he really wants, if he feels that he needs to just go with his heart on it, and heart on, not the other way. And but if he feels it's right, and if he feels it's wrong, more power to him. But you have people who are spiritually guided one way or the other, whether it be Christianity or Buddhism or whatever, that act in movies and TV that would contradict to their beliefs, and they basically just say, well, I'm just acting in a role. So he can take that kind of approach about it, and it all be good. That's the thing about it is when it comes to some of the stuff like in cancel culture, some of the stuff at W.A.S.P is really weak compared to the other stuff that should be canceled nowadays, or that does get canceled. So, if he just goes with his heart, and if he decides not to do it, more power to him. If he does, that'll be awesome, because, it was really the beginning. So That's the way I think of it.
I'm going to go next so I can give Andy the last word on it. I think he needs to just look in the mirror and see where he's at. We've heard some of the reasons why he didn't want to perform it any longer. If those still hold true, then he can hold on to what he needs. I don't feel any need to put any pressure on him to perform it. I will say this. I couldn't give two shits. There are songs that I would much rather he play in its place than to hear that necessarily. There are songs, way more songs. If it was a choice between that and a list of 5 other songs that I could pick one from, I'd probably go with the list. It's just, to me, it's...
What's on your list? Pick one.
We'll get there. We'll
get there. You're going to get my list in a moment, Sparky, and then we'll see if you think I need Animal in my set list, because I don't. I do not. I'm not offended by the song in any way. I'm older now than I was when I first heard it, and it doesn't. I don't have the same going that I heard back then, or pissing off the establishment. That's so passé at my age. I don't believe in that stuff either anymore. I don't have that same outlook. Mine doesn't come from a spiritual basis on that song. It's just that I've kind of grown out of that song. And there's, again, I'm going to end. There are songs I would much rather he do rather than Animal. So it's a non-issue to me. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, well, I hope he picks something good instead and didn't just shorten the set by one song. Andy, Animal.
You have 34 seconds.
You have 34 seconds to complete this part of the show.
There's Animal right there. Animal right there.
Where's his cod piece at?
I don't see any sparks.
I kind of look at it the same way too. Is that it is a persona? It's not really him. It is him, but it's not him. Like you said, it's a stage thing. It's a stage name. And he said the world had changed, from back then till like now. It's kind of like, I don't know if we're going to get into that, but like throwing the meat. Back then it was good. Now, no way. Lawsuits, all that kind of crap. So, but anyways, to me, Animal, I mean, they have, yes, it is that song that started it all, but it's a way that he could play it and the audience would just sing the part, right? They say it like, what, 3-4 times in the whole song anyways? And the whole audience is going to sing it, so he could just turn around and just go like this. When they come to the lines, and he could even if he wanted to start that thing out, hey, any rivet heads come here looking for a little bit of love. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to say certain words, which he's already changed words to in other songs that he still plays. So, in the long run, I don't really care if they play it or don't play it, but I think they will. I think that's what's going to end up happening. I think the audience is going to end up singing the words. They're going to, where everybody's going to act like a giant kid, and it's going to go back to 1984, and everybody in that crowd, even though, as you said, Julian, we're older and this and that, you kind of like, oh, I don't want to offend
I'd be singing it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Boom.
And the whole crowd's going to be singing it. I flute like a beast. You know what I mean? Big deal. I mean, they got worse. I'd say they got worse songs. KFD, You, Kill My Pretty Face. You know what I mean? Stuff that's even darker and probably more offensive than Animal. So I think they will play it. It's a hardcore song. Like they said, like he says, if he wants to cater to the people, that 90% that he wants to cater to, they're going to play Animal. I think it's just hidden until that first night. And after they play that first night in Anaheim, he's going to see the crowd absolutely going out of their skull, out of their minds. When they play.
We'll know from Europe, because that comes first.
Oh, yeah, unless they, like he said, though, they were going to put songs in and out. Okay, going to change a little bit here and there, well, hopefully. So, again, that's, like you said, that's the song that started it all. They should kind of do it. It's a hardcore song, and I think they will. But I could take it or leave it. Either way, it doesn't bother me.
Yep.
Because, again, I don't really care. I can't believe it. I just want this to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I can't believe it. But I have to wait until November.
All right, let's move on. I'm Harder, Faster. I still like that song, oddly. So what are they going to play? Obviously, there's a core of mandatory songs that have to be performed in a W.A.S.P show. It's not only to assuage the sensibilities of the casuals, but it's also because they are the core of the W.A.S.P catalog. They are the songs that represent the band, and they're usually the ones that people are like, the diehard. I'm so bored of listening to Wild Child, Can't they play Fetus instead?
God.
But
yeah, because I need to go to the bathroom.
it's gonna be there. So, what are the core songs? And I asked you to pick 10 core songs. So we'll just do the lists and then tell me how you approach or define the core songs on that you would want or expect to hear. Bill.
Well, mine actually leads toward that greatest hits set. The people that are wanting to hear stuff prior to Headless Children, and so I Want to Be Somebody, of course, Wild Child, Blind in Texas, Love Machine, Chainsaw Charlie, because he loves playing Chainsaw Charlie, Forever Free, because it was kind of an okay single, and Hellion. And then I went a little deep on this one with Kill Ahead, and then On Your Knees and Eldorado for my buddy Steve.
Nice. That's actually, that's not as kind of predictable as mine's going to be. So good on you. Andy, 10 core songs. This was your homework.
Wow. Well, not really, because it's kind of easy. I mean, he went out of left field on a couple of songs that even I was like, oh, Eldorado, well, interesting. Even Chainsaw Charlie's like kind of deep. I think it's deep. So anyways, these are just whatever, just 10. So yeah, of course, I Want to Be Somebody should be the last song of the whole thing. When that song's played, that's like Kiss's Rock and Roll Night. I Want to Be Somebody is better ending than Blind in Texas. But so you got I Want to Be Somebody, Inside the Electric Circus, because they're doing the whole circus thing. I hope that's the opening song. Wild Child, it's going to be in there. Hellion's going to be there. Blind in Texas. The Headless Children. Animal. Sleeping in the Fire. Love Machine. And not that I wish they'd take it out, is I Don't Need No Doctor. It's going to be in there. I don't know why, but it's always in there. So those are my 10, basically the hardcore that I think that will be in there. So
that's one thing I forgot to mention. I left all the covers out. I didn't do any cover tunes.
I personally don't want any covers in either. I don't want The Real Me. I don't want The Doctor, but I think
they rock the hell out of I Don't Need No Doctor. That is still my favorite version of that song.
Yeah.
I mean, they rock the hell out of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I get it, but I'd rather hear, say something like Sweet Cheetah, off the Electric Circus. You know what I mean?
That's a deep one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice one. Now I'm looking at my list. I'm second guessing myself. Okay, I went with 2 songs from each of the first 5 albums because that is the core of the core, and I've left everything else to talk about in some of the next questions. So, surprisingly, I'm going to have to juggle one as we go along. I Want to Be Somebody, Love Machine, Wild Child, Blind in Texas, I Don't Need No Doctor, Real Me, Forever Free, Chainsaw Charlie, and The Idol. And the one I'm going to have to swap out is I completely blew it because, Andy, you're right. It's the circus theme. How can I not have Inside the Electric Circus with the big welcome? So I'm going to X out 95 Nasty, which was in my list, and put the Inside the Electric Circus back in. So that's the core. That's kind of the stuff I think everyone is going to expect. And, even combining our three lists there, there's so much more core than just 10 songs. So it's got to be a real pain in the ass to try and come up with the sets. It's going to be rotating song slot number 3, rotating song slot number 8. He's got a lot of scope to shake up the set list from night to night. Like a lot of my favorite bands do. They don't play the same thing twice in a row, even if it's just moving songs around in the set, or switching one out. There's a lot of opportunity for variety. I think he has to accept that there are going to be YouTubers. Embrace it. This is your legacy. Have at it. Don't worry about YouTubers ruining the surprise, because your publishing is going to earn the advertising revenue off those YouTube videos to begin with, and it's all good advertising for the show and for people who go to a show who have a completely different set list, and they can still enjoy the songs that they didn't get to hear that night. So don't sweat any of that shit. All right, let's see. Where am I at with my notes here? A lot of the fans buying tickets are likely just checking
off. We're on the 5
off.
deep cuts.
Yeah, well, nearly. I want to make sure I don't skip any of this. He says he's going to play a better part of 2 hours. So I didn't do any times on this. I figure that's 22, 25 songs.
Unless you do that walking around dumb bullshit that Paul Stanley does now and kills about 15 minutes of the show doing it.
No yodeling.
Yeah, well, I mean, just no wandering around, looking, making funny faces and all that garbage. It's come out. If you want to talk to your audience, talk to your audience. If you don't, do the Alice Cooper thing, come out and nail us with every song. That's it.
Boom.
One
boom,
or the other.
Boom.
Don't give us any of the bullshit where, can I hear you over here? Can I hear you? Fuck that shit. And I hate to, be so F-bomby, but yeah, this is 40 years. It's about the music. Play the music and give it to us the best you can.
Yeah, I have to bring that up too. Is that in 2010? That's what they did. They did straight on. There was not much talking. It was song after song after song after song, and I'm like, yeah, keep going, baby, keep going. And that's the way. Like, it's the only thing I'm hoping that Blackie doesn't do that I've seen in videos on YouTube and stuff like that. That he's been turning his back a lot on the audience. He turns around and just turns. I don't know why he's doing it. I don't know if he doesn't like the people doing the cameras or videoing. I don't know what it is, but he turns his back a lot. If you go look, he turns his back. He turns, looks at the drums and just plays, but he's just standing there looking. I don't know. It's annoying. I have to say it. So I hope he doesn't turn his back like he has been the last, 10 years or 8 years, whatever he's been doing it. I don't know why. So, Anyways,
Well, maybe he doesn't have to look at a show like this the whole night. Looking out at an audience like that must get really withering. And it's been
Then-
10 years. So now people bringing their freaking iPads out,
And
holding that.
he needs to do like Rob Halford, except since Blackie's a baseball guy, he can bring a baseball bat out and start swatting at him, knocking him out into the audience.
Yeah, no, it'd
Well,
be cool if you're going to these shows. Know that the people up in all over are just going to be filming. But if you're up and you're in the pit and you're up close, put your fucking phone down and enjoy the goddamn show.
I had two guys at the last end of the road show that I went to. They were both standing there. They both filmed every frame of the entire show. Fortunately, I was able to put my head between the two of them where I could see the majority of it. But it's just like, if you're down on the floor, get into the show. If you're not, get out.
Yeah, even when I'm upstairs at the Regency in San Francisco sitting, my phone's staying away. I don't need photos from a freaking distance. They're going to suck anyway. They never turn out good. I'm not there for that. I'm there for the music.
I went and saw Jack White in Columbus about 3 years ago, and it was one of the first shows where they had you put your phone in a bag, and you was basically locked away from your phone for the entire show. And my daughter was like, "Oh my God, this is going to suck." And by the time it was over, had we had a wristwatch or a clock or something, we would have been perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. We didn't need our phones for anything. We just sat there and dug the whole show. And I wouldn't mind it if they did that for the show.
Well, I'm going to keep mine away of my own volition.
Look at Andy. Yeah, he's like, no way. I got to have pictures.
Way. You know why? You know why I wouldn't want the phone put away? It's not that I'll be in the pit and I will take some pictures, not film the whole thing and take some pictures. But I want the pictures for me for later on to have them framed to put up and to have, hey, look, I'm standing in front of, the outside of the building and it says W.A.S.P on it for the first time in over 10 years. I want the picture. That's the only thing I want it for. I'm not going to do it to like, oh, I want to sell this or this.
And I understand it on the picture taking, but it's when you have 750 people in front of you that are all holding their phone up.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's going to happen.
The one thing. Yeah, it will. But guys, that's like, I sent you guys the pictures of that club. It looks like it's got a pretty flat floor on it. It doesn't look like there's any slope to it at all. So if you're in the back of the room and you got 300 people standing in front of you filming, it's going to suck.
Yeah, and that's one thing that it's a good point of discussion. Do you remember Kiss Online back when Mike was webmaster and the farewell tour? He was out with the band and he would take hundreds of photos at every single show and they would be up on the website the next day, of the band. He'd take some of the audience. If Blackie's website, number one, has budget to have someone out there with them doing that for their website, it would be great engagement for them to be able to say, hey, we're taking a shitload of photos, proper photos, from each show, and maybe make them available for purchase, make some available for free. Take the Blackie's pics, Mike Duda's pics, or the band members, get them to pick 5 of their favorite photos from that night's shows, for sale, or make those the freebies or something, some revenue generating thing, that could work so that they could say during the show, hey, we got this great stuff, go to waspnation.com photos and you'll be able to see pictures from the tour, something like that. Would you mind putting your phones down and enjoying the show?
Well, that's actually what happened at the Jack White show. Is there was pictures taken by pros all the way through the show, and then you could go to a website later and download whatever you wanted to. So you were watching the show and you were getting all the pictures you wanted, but then you could go to this page and get the actual good, clean pro shots of the show. And it's a brilliant idea. And it's funny that you mentioned Michael Brandvold, because who's doing press for W.A.S.P right now.
Really?
Is Michael Brandvold. So it would be too awesome if he was on the road with them.
Yeah.
Or if he had, I mean, I doubt if he's got a team.
But he's got the expertise, having done it, so he knows people. And he's come up with an awful lot of very good ideas in terms of the marketing and merchandising for bands previously, and his experience speaks volumes. So
a big shout out to Mike, because he's really doing these bands right, especially a lot of these legacy acts, that he's getting a lot of their press out like they deserve to have it out.
Yep, Andy, and then we'll get back to the music.
Yeah. The only thing still, though, is that I still going to, I don't care, is that I want to take some pictures in the pit. I'm going to be in the pit in the Boston show, and I want to take pictures in the pit of not just the band, of the crowd. I want to turn around, take pictures of the people that are in the balconies and all that stuff, and in pictures of, I want to say selfies. If he decides to, break up a pillow and, the feathers fly, I want to take pictures of the feathers flying and going, like, I don't know what it is. It's just for the prosperity of it.
But you're being reasonable. You're talking about reasonableness. You're not going to be sitting there with this thing glued to your freaking face the whole damn show. You would have moments like any normal human being would want. Oh, that's cool. We've got these tools. I'm just saying, it would be so nice to get away from those things. And this is a special tour. We wouldn't be doing this show if we weren't excited about it. So we're just brainstorming. How much is reasonable? How much is rational? Who knows? It's all emotional.
And just one more thing quick. And like, I told you guys know, Kim is going with me on the second night that we go to see them. And, we're in a balcony. We had the seats because I don't want her in the pit. And she here's the W.A.S.P me playing here once in a while. This is like a whole new experience for her. She made me go to the Monkeys, and I told her I was going to pay. She was going to have to pay back because I took her to the Monkeys. She wanted me to go see the Monkeys before that other guy passed away. So we got to see the last two Monkeys before that thing, like a week or 2 weeks later, the guy passed away.
Michael
so
Nesmith.
I told her, I said, someday you're gonna pay back. I'm hoping that the whole W.A.S.P thing. So you're gonna go see W.A.S.P with me. And she's like, I don't know about that. I'm like, so I got to get the expressions on her face when she sees this.
Oh yeah.
Much Monkeys love to Kim, because I'm a big Monkeys fan too. So
yeah.
No,
and you would have taken her anyway without any W.A.S.P. You'd take Kim anywhere.
Yes, I would. I know.
Yes.
I just.
You would take her on a tour of Aerosmith sites of historic.
No, absolutely. Oh, with you, yes. Yeah. With you, it's different. So I thought you would take it to the show. Like, no way. Nope.
All right. Well, let's get back to W.A.S.P music. All right, Andy. Since you're talking, your lips are moving. Right. You're all warmed up. Here's your challenge. Pick 5 deep cuts that for you would fit into that slot of being very personally appealing to hear during this tour. What are yours?
All right. I'm going to go with it. You said you didn't say what we could have choose, so I'm taking, and I don't know why the song isn't on the Headless Children, The Lake of Fools. That song is off the hook, and Chris Holmes and Frankie, that song is so unbelievable. It's unreal. I don't know why that never made it on the Headless Children. That would be cool, So that's one. Number 2 is B.A.D. Bad off the first album. That should be on there. My third one is Rebel in the FDG. That song, awesome. And what are you? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, Sweet Cheetah, because of the whole circus thing. I've always loved that song, Sweet Cheetah. And you said 5, so I only got 4. What do I want to pick? I don't care, man. I love it all, but
Eldorado.
I don't know. Let me think about number 5. I got to think about it. Go ahead. Next.
All right, Bill.
Going along with Andy, I had a Rebel in the FDG. That is just an absolute banger of a tune. And then the other ones are earlier songs. Ball Crusher. I just loved Ball Crusher from the minute I heard it. And I just love that riff to it. And Fistful of Diamonds, because the Last Command. If they could play all of the Last Command, and I would be cool with that. But and then Andy had this in his 10 have to plays. I had Sleeping in the Fire, because I just think it's probably one of the best ballads. It's probably one of the best rock ballads, period, and it's definitely one of the best that Blackie's ever written.
Yeah, I wonder how Blackie's voice will be, doing a set after several years off and all that. That'll be interesting what he needs to do maintenance-wise to go through the tour safely. For my deep cuts, they're not really deep because I saved that for the what else section, really, is where the deep stuff comes in. These, for me, are the ones that I think I have to hear that they're important to me as part of a W.A.S.P set. So we've already talked about this one, and it's On Your Knees. It's not a rare cut. It gets performed a lot, but it's a critical cut. It's one of those songs that needs to be early on in the set, which is very difficult to do when you're going with the circus theme, and you got to balance Electric Circus maybe with Electric Knees into Electric on Your Circus. Electric Knees. You know what I mean? Inside the Electric Circus going into On Your Knees at the beginning would be kind of cool. I'm also going with Show No Mercy, which I believe was the flipped Animal.
Yes,
so
it was.
That was my way of working around the Animal situation. You've got that B-side, which I actually like a lot more. A really good song. And then I'm going I don't know if it's super deep. I Want Black Forever. That is one of my all-time favorite W.A.S.P songs, period. That takes me back to Glasgow. That takes me to a very happy place. It's an underrated album. Blackie talked about Frankie Banali, who's now gone. Didn't talk about Bob Kulick yet, who is gone. I want this 40-year celebration to celebrate every aspect. I like how on the Eddie Trunk show he talked about that smell at Ground Zero. I like how he talked about Frankie Banali. I don't want him talking a lot during this show, but I think there are a lot of stories that can be said to interconnect these songs. Here's a song that I loved Frankie Banali's drumming on, makes me think of him. Or here's a song that the great late Bob Kulick, played on. I'd like to know why each one of those songs are in the set. Okay, next one, Shoot from the Hip. And you've already said this one, Ball Crusher. I was kind of going, Jack Action. I always liked the vibe of that one, man. But it's just not one that's aged very well either. But it's such a fun song.
Well, that's Jack Action. It's kind of like a Desperado kind of theme anyway. It's really not. Jack Action makes it sound like masturbation or whatever, but I mean, really, it's just about like a Desperado kind of character. So I always thought it was pretty cool. I mean, like I said, Last Command, anything off Last Command, I'm down. But yeah, I mean, I actually know the bass part to that. That's pretty cool to play.
Yeah,
where he drops the big chords in and the bass parts on it too is pretty badass.
All right.
One thing about you mentioned about the Back to the Trunk interview is one of the few guys that got to actually ask him any questions. And he's like, man, you got to play Hallowed Ground. You got to play Hallowed Ground. And, Blackie's like, it's high on the list right now. And it's like, that's the weird thing about it is most concerts I go to, I don't want to hear ballads. But when you got some ballads like the ones that he's written, I'm okay with hearing those. And, I mean, they can still be massive in a live situation, especially Hallowed Ground and Sleeping in the Fire.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't put Sleeping in the Fire in any of my lists, because I had Forever Free that kind of touched on the power ballady kind of thing. Sleeping in the Fire is kind of next level. That really is, it's sublime for my taste. It's a really, really good song. All right, so what else is left? Because that's only 15 songs. That leaves us like 10 to fill out from not for me. I only picked the first 5 studio albums. So now I've got 9 studio albums left to pick one song from. What else, Andy?
Oh no, you gotta do
you didn't tell us to make a what else list.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no. I did. What
did.
So now you're doing it off the cuff,
No.
Oh, I'm going to cheat. I got all music open here.
9 songs. 9 songs.
Yeah. What
All right.
what else is there?
Wait.
You want to take a minute and I'll go?
If you want, go ahead.
All right, so that is what I did. I got to the end of this. I'm like, we've forgotten an important question. There's 14 studio albums. There's a lot of stuff if we're celebrating 40 years of W.A.S.P. I think that one song in the very minimum from every single album needs to be represented. So I went back to it, and from Kill Fuck Die, Take the Addiction would be very cool. Next up, Eldorado, and we've already said Eldorado, but I actually had Can't Die Tonight, but I'd be fine with Eldorado. Either of those two from that album, there's some good stuff on it. Again, very waspy sounding material. Next, Let It Roar. Rawr. And there's no way in hell that he would do this song, Hell for Eternity. Remember what we said about that? It's got to be one of the most uncomfortable choruses ever. He would be shredding his vocal cords every single night. In fact, I wouldn't even blame him if he held up a tape recorder and just played it during that part of the song, because it would be shredding. Or Revengeance from that album.
I need to look at my album for a second. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Next, off Neon God Part 1, XTC Riders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If we've got two neons to choose from. I'm going with Resurrector from Part 2, because both of those, again, they've got that W.A.S.P cadence to them. They're rocking, and they're also show Blackie's development and continued quality songwriting. All right, Heaven's Hung in Black. Really, really, really good song. And we're now talking about albums that we haven't yet done our album focuses on this show about. And then finally, Crazy. It's a little bit, into the parts where I say it sounds like songs I've heard before, and that's probably why I'm picking it, because a lot of the fans are not going to know this catalog. A lot of the people in those shows are going to be those fair weather fans, so sell your catalog. Let them know what they've been missing. And finally, Last Runaway. So those are the ones that I've chosen off the rest of the albums to represent. And yeah, we could go on forever, because there is Scream Until You Like It, Tormentor. There are these B-sides, Lake of Fools, as you mentioned. There, Tokyo's on Fire from KFD. So, all right, Bill, you ready with some?
I've got three. How close are you, Andy?
I'm good. I'm ready to rock.
Okay,
right.
You go ahead.
Rock it.
All right, ready? First one, and I'm basing this not just because I like the song. I'm basing it, well, yeah, of course, I love the songs, but and the original people that did them too. So I'm thinking about that too at the same time. So it's kind of weird. It's like, because like Chris Holmes has a way different guitar sound than Doug and the rest of them. But anyways, The Idol, off the original Crimson Idol, The Idol. That song, Bob Kulick, unbelievable. That song has got to be like, when I heard that, when they did that tour with the Crimson Idol, they did the whole Idol tour, I saw that down in Connecticut, unbelievable. I had like tears in my eyes when I heard that song and thinking, man, if only Bob Kulick was here playing this song right now, I mean, that guy was just off the hook playing. So that's that one. So, off the August, I can never say that right. Miss You. That song hits home. I don't know why. I love that song. I don't know if you call that a ballad, kind of in a way. Not really a ballad. I don't know. Anyways, off of KFD, Killer Head. Killer Head, Killer Head, boom, boom, Killer Head. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. So Eldorado, off of Eldorado, off of Unholy Terror is Charisma. Best song off that whole thing. Love that song. Love that song. The other one, Crazy, Painted Black. And again, I want to hear the full thing, Scream Until You Like It. So I think that's about 8 or 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's close enough.
Yep. Good picks, by the way. Good picks. I'd be happy with any of those. All right, Bill, so you up to 5 yet?
I'm really close. Yeah. Okay. I got. Well, I actually have 8 now. I've just really been blazing through it. Allmusic.com is my friend. So.
And the Hollow Ground. So that'd be number 9. Fine.
Get us back into this here. Get the right window open. Okay. you know, kicking some more Eldorado stuff, Cocaine Cowboys. I love the high energy of it, and along with that, Harder, Faster. You know, I'm kind of, I was sitting there going, no, I don't want to do any more ballads. I don't want to do any more ballads. So, The Heretic from you know, Headless Children, My Wicked Heart,
Ooh.
Restless Gypsy,
Yeah.
Rock and Roll to Death. I
That's
love
a good one.
the 50s boogie of that. Back to My Last Command, Running Wild in the Streets. You know, that's just that's perfect stuff, man. Off of a perfect album. And then Tormentor.
Excellent.
So,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot of picks, isn't it?
yeah, I
So-
mean, you know, maybe they should just do 2 nights and do half of them one night and half of the next. We'll go see both shows.
No, and again, this is just three fans talking about what we want to hear. You know, wait until we see what Blackie wants to play. That's what I really look forward to. I look forward to that first set list report coming out and saying, okay, that's what he brought. Then we'll do a show about expectations and whether he's hitting or missing. And you know what? He ain't listening still, I hope, and just doing his own thing, because you don't listen to the crowd unless they're throwing fruit at you. Then you might stop and ponder. But I think it would take a lot for me to be very disappointed. And again, because I've not seen W.A.S.P in concert, you know, to actually go and see, it's going to be, you know, an unholy terror. That's for sure. All right, so presentation-wise, is there any elements of a live show, now that he's talked about the electric circus idea, or the original circus idea? I immediately went and looked at the old, I think it's Circus video of Mr. Cool, kind of the tent, which is why I've got this background. You know, and how he could have gone from that perspective rather than the big, you know, flash potty mid-'80s stuff. And I think it's got a lot of room for some fun stuff. The video screen is a problem. He has shown movies, you know, on the backdrops, you know, previously. I would much rather it just be a setting than be a part of the show. Just to be something simple, something that sets the mood, but isn't a critical part of it, to just let the music do all the work. Bill?
Yeah, I really hadn't looked into that idea that much, but excuse me. You know, as you were talking, I was like, hey, yeah, they could have a human cannonball, you know, where they have a cannon and shoot a guy across the stage, you know, just out of nowhere, you know. Hell, some bands shoot laser lights at the lighting rigs, whatever. Yeah, let's have a human cannonball fly across the stage or something like that. Or, you know, I mean, really, when it comes to like some of the sideshow stuff, like the bearded lady and all of that stuff, that's kind of tacky in my opinion. But the funny thing that I thought about when I see the early W.A.S.P pictures, you know, where they were more circus oriented and all that stuff, is they have and it even went into like the early stages of like Live at the Lyceum, where they had this thing about putting everybody on pedestals, you know, where they're kind of, and well, it's in the I Want to Be Somebody video and all of that stuff too, where, you know, they're kind of bow-legged squatting on the pedestals and stuff like that, where they're, I guess that they're the beast waiting for the lion tamers to come by or something like that. But I don't really have a whole lot more on that.
Yeah, I don't think we need any nuns on racks, that's for sure. Andy, anything about live presentation?
Well, since they're going to do kind of this, well, circus, but, you know, everybody has to have their own imagination, so we don't know what he's doing. But if he says they're putting the drums like on bales of hay, well, I think maybe the bales of hay will be in front of the drums. That's what, just have that look. I would love to see the old W.A.S.P sign up, but, you know, you're not going to be able to light it on fire anymore. So I wonder if they could put lights in it now, you know, kind of like Kiss does, you know, have the lights in it now. Do you put it above the stage, up high, like Kiss does, and like W.A.S.P did originally, or do you put it in front of the drum set and have it light up? Because you've seen that too, where W.A.S.P it's been on the floor too. So you could put it that way. So if they decide to do screens, you could have screen. I know people love them and people hate them, but the screen things would go good with the circus thing because you could have all kinds of crazy kooky circus things going in the background. But not just one screen. You have like either one screen going like a half semicircle, because he said the thing would be like half semicircle, like a screen going semicircle, so it's almost like you're in a 3D thing. That'd be kind of different and interesting. Plus, you gotta have the lights and stuff like that. The other thing too, is he gonna bring Elvis? If
No,
if people
please
like
no.
go do Elvis is that $50,000 mic stand that he had made, it's a skeleton, whatever. And then you end up putting a plastic mask on it. I don't know why he ever did that. I thought that was silly. But is he going to bring Elvis out? Are they going to go back to the original mic stands, where they were like chains? Are they going to step on boxes to make themselves higher up? Are they going to wear like boots like they did? Or he's going to wear like all the blades? Are the guys going to be in colors? I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, you never know. I think it'd be cool if they used the boxes so they could step up and you can be higher up. So, those people on the floor, when we're on the floor, you'd be able to get a good shots, or, like you said, those people standing there like this with the big things. At least if they're standing up higher, at least they're kind of like looking down and you can kind of look a little bit further up. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things you could kind of do. I mean, I guess it all depends on the money and how good the show sells. I mean, I would imagine.
Yeah,
like I said,
at those prices.
Yeah, what kind of production value budget are you going to have? That's going to be, that might even answer the question of whether there's even screens at all.
Yeah, I want a tour book. Sorry, I want a tour book. I want, they're going to cost them probably have T-shirts, but I would love a tour book. Some kind of poster. I mean, go for it. If you're going to do this 40th anniversary, go for it, right?
Well, the crazy thing, like with merch, is I went and saw it while it was a much smaller scale show. I went to go see Kevin Williams open for David Cook, his band The Swear, and David Cook didn't have any merch on hand. Basically what you did is you walked up to a table, and it had like the QR codes on the table, and if you wanted this shirt in this size, you took a picture of that QR code and stuff like that, and then they had the stuff shipped to you. That way they weren't having 3 extra people to haul around merch and somebody to run the booth. They basically had it just laid out on the table and nobody attending it. But they did all of their stuff pre-ordered, and that's like, say you get the tour book. You get the tour book and, you want to get it early, so you don't want to, but then again, you have that risk of, like the Crazy Nights book, man. My buddy bought the Crazy Nights tour book, and it was ruined by the end of the show because, got in the crowd and it got all messed up. So You just have that stuff shipped to you. And then that's also kind of the point, like if you really want the tour merch that bad, then just order it online. That way you don't have a whole bunch of extra stuff to carry home. But and then you're getting receipts and all that. I mean all the digital payment and everything like that's so different now anyway.
Yep.
But
yeah, and if it could be done to be kind of restricted down to those who are at the show able to order, and then leftovers go to the general public, so that no one who's going doesn't get a chance to get some tour merch, would be real nice.
And then about the next thing, now that we're talking about merchandise, are they going to do some kind of meet and greets?
I hope not.
I don't think so. I think the meet and greet is becoming the thing of the past.
Yeah, I know Blackie had been. I don't know if he's like really against them, but he's never done any. Never done any. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know, or have something up on the. Well, I guess not, because it's going to be general mission. You can't do that. Have a picture on the stage or something. I don't know. Just thinking out of the box.
Do we actually know what Blackie's age is? I mean, because he's got to be approaching 70. Because, yeah, well, and that's the thing is. I tried looking it up earlier because I know that there was an article in like Circus Magazine, when I was a kid, that back to Blackie's fascination with baseball is that he was actually drafted by the Cincinnati Reds at one point before he decided to go stay in rock and roll. And I was really trying to look up that, I looked up his original name and all of that stuff and tried to see where I could find where he was drafted at. And one point it came up with like the 1972 draft. So if you're thinking 1972, he would have been 18 to 20 then. And then what would that put him at now? You're looking at 28 years, so that would have been, 46, maybe 66 now.
Well,
And,
Well, don't forget he was out with the Dolls in '75,
right.
or '76, and Arthur with Killer Kane in '76 was Blackie Guzman. Yeah, he's been around a while, so yeah, no,
he's got to definitely take his health into. You said he was wearing a mask back in 20 years ago, or 12 years ago, or whatever. So he's got to be doing something to keep his health in mind. So I think that I don't think the meet and greets will happen.
Yeah, Wikipedia's got him as 1956. So.
Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to,
66.
think out of the box and stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff they haven't done, or maybe they want to try. I don't know. I guess I'm just so excited about this whole thing happening finally. After it's been 12 years for me, and it's been longer for you guys, and I'm just like excited. This is something that, in reality, this could be it. You know what I'm saying? Unless something else happens after this. 45 or 50 years. Yeah, I think could be the last time they could play in America. He said he was done a long time ago, and it's been, like I said, 10, 11, 12 years, depending on what state you're out of. And could this be really the end? Who
knows? Let's not worry about the end. Let's enjoy what's coming.
That's what I'm so excited about it. It wants everything. That's what the whole point is. Like, tour books, pics, pictures, a poster, you name it, T-shirts.
I want a good show. I want a good show.
Well, of course, that too. Come on now.
and I'm not too worried about the visuals, to be honest. I don't want any excuses of shows canceled because they couldn't get Elvis through the door. No load-in problems. Just cross those T's and dot those I's. Before pre-production starts. Our stage. All that shit. Make sure none of those things are a problem. And if Blackie, mentioned that, a lot of the deal in the past was, get people to listen by turning down the visuals. Yeah, I'm there to listen to the music being performed. So I'm less interested in all the window dressing that goes around it because, W.A.S.P has been melodic metal to me. I want to end on this topic, which is, again, something else that's been mentioned on the Eddie Trunk interview. 40th anniversary box set. What would you most like to hear? That maybe you've heard of or has been rumored to exist. What would you like in a W.A.S.P box set? Andy?
All the B-sides, all the demos. I'll take everything I can get my hands on. It doesn't matter if it's been out there or not. It'd be cool in a nice package. And I think they should contact Julian Gill.
No.
To do the book.
No chance. No, thank you. I did have 100-something pages of a W.A.S.P book done, but I'm not interested. There are other people who are better at that for that band than me. So, Bill, what would you like to hear in a W.A.S.P box?
Well, and that's the thing is I don't really know what I'm missing. So, I mean, the demos, progressions of how songs may have started out early on and then, became something else later. I would be interested in, just really a good book inside of it with, detailed stories and pictures of, pictures of shows, pictures of, photo sessions and stuff like that. And as far as the music, I think 40 songs for 40 years is kind of limiting, especially, when you've got 20 albums out. That averages out to like 2 songs a record. And, we came up with more than 40 songs between the 3 of us. So, if you could get like a 3 to 4 disc set, with, I'd take 80 songs, that'd be fine with me. And, just a decent package, whatever they felt like dealing with. That's the thing about it is when you get like some of the, the tchotchkes and some of these box sets, they just end up in a box somewhere. They, I don't, nothing against Andy and the way he's got stuff displayed. I just don't have stuff like that. I mean, my entire Kiss collection is in cardboard boxes. So it really doesn't do me any good to have it. And it's like the music, I end up listening to a lot more of it digitally. Granted, if it's on vinyl, I'll be more likely to spend the vinyl. But, basically a good package with something you can sit down and look at while you're, just like the mother of all liner notes. That's what I'd like to have in it, different stories from, and if as far-fetched as this sounds, if you could have everybody to participate historically, it would be great. Steve Riley and all of them, but you're not going to get that because especially after the way the response was to, Chris's stories that, he said in the documentary, Blackie's not going to go for that. But, yeah, sure.
Even Johnny Rod was on another podcast talking about he had saw Blackie. I forgot he said when, and basically Blackie said hi to him, hi, I'll be back. And he never came back and talked to him. So Johnny Rod was like,
I was really surprised that he pulled Randy Piper out of thin air because, that's the thing about it is I remember Randy Piper when he was first. Well, it's not when he first put Animal together, but it's when he was trying to do a second incarnation of Animal, and a friend of mine was playing drums for him. And, but I mean, that was, good Lord, I can't even remember. That had to be in the 90s, like 96 or 97, that was going on. But, I'm not even sure what's going on with Randy now. And he just pulled Randy out of thin air, and he says he hasn't talked to anybody else. So.
Yeah.
Because Randy has because Randy was on
Another podcast is probably, I don't know if it was just a talk one through somewhere.
Randy says that he has all the demos. He has everything. He has stuff that Blackie wishes he had
from the very, very early years because it was all done in Piper's, area or place and stuff. He's got it all, he says. He's got hundreds of stuff.
Yeah, because it was Randy's studio they were working out at.
Yeah. So he has all. So maybe he talked to him about that. So
yeah,
who knows?
It'll be interesting to see what they put on there because, again, like Bill said, 40 is very limiting. The demos themselves, I'd almost rather be Record Store Day releases on their own, standalone. The first W.A.S.P demo. You remember Hit the Lights? When Metallica put that out as a cassette on Record Store Day. But, if that was to come out on CD in all formats, would be very, very cool. Again, I don't care. I'm more interested in seeing what Blackie presents because, again, he's the artist. He's telling the story, and I'm interested in the story that he's telling. Of course, we all live in kind of that delusional kumbaya land where it'd be nice to have Chris Holmes say a word, Johnny Rod say a word, and, well, God, Frankie Banali say a word.
Don't even bring up Rick Fox.
Yeah, and Rick Fox say a couple 100,000 words,
Oh, my gosh. He's been hot on the trails lately. So.
Understandably, I mean, we don't know the histories. We don't know the truth. We don't know shit. We just listen to the music and enjoy it for what it is. So there we are. Blackie Lawless hitting the road. We're excited because he's hitting the roads in America, North America, Europe first. Make it worthwhile. Make him feel appreciated. Don't get him sick. Don't you dare.
Damn straight.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good thing about. I hate to say it, but it's a good thing that they're playing here in November. With all this craziness going on, I think with all this stuff going on, I don't know, man. It's still too nuts, and they're gonna have General Mission and.
Come on, Blackie. I'm pretty sure the last 2 years got an album in it, right? Come on, you got all the inspiration and subject matter you could possibly need for a concept album.
That's what he did say in the interview. He said that he has been working on new stuff, and there's typically an album ready to go. He just doesn't know when it's going to come out. We had mentioned that.
Yeah. No, you
Sell
did.
it at the show. Sell it at the shows. Sell it at the shows.
And I don't think he understood Eddie Trunk's question because he kind of said that he'd include new songs on the box. No, keep the box sacrosanct. The history, new album for new music only, or drop a single in front of the tour. Get some new. I want to hear what Blackie's. Where's his headspace these days in terms of writing? Been a while. All right, that's it. We'll be back. What's up next? Dominator, I think. So
Are we going to do live at the Lyceum?
Yeah, we will, maybe. I think we may have to bunch that in and do all the live albums in one shot. But that was the first live release, so that gets included. But I can't stream it while we talk about it on a Skype. So we'd have to do, I think maybe we'll do a live W.A.S.P episode and stream that. A live watch party. We'll do something with it, and we've still got a lot of albums to talk about even after we finish these last 3 studio episodes. For now, from Bill, Andy, myself, thanks for joining us. Hopefully see you out there on the road.
Yes. Get your tickets if there's any available, because some shows have already sold out.
waspnation.com. Check it out. Stay up to date. Official word. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us, like us, or even leave us a review. You can find us and join the conversation on Facebook.